The morning she arrived, the base was already alive with noise. Steel boots hit concrete in hurried rhythms. Engines growled awake under the pale, orange sky. The air smelled of fuel, metal, and discipline. It was a place where no one smiled without permission and no one asked unnecessary questions. And then she walked in a convoy. No escort, no dramatic arrival. Just a single woman stepping through the main gate with a small duffel slung over her shoulder and a calmness that didn't belong to a place like this. The guards barely looked at her. She wore standard fatigues, unmarked, no visible rank. Her cap was pulled low, shadowing eyes that missed nothing. To them, she was just another transfer, another new girl dropped into the most unforgiving base in the region. Someone behind the gate muttered, "Great. Another one who won't last a week." They didn't know her name yet. They didn't know her history. And they certainly didn't know who she really was. Inside the administrative building, whispers began almost immediately. "Did you see her?" "Yeah. New intake. She looks soft. Won't survive Alpha Unit." Laughter followed. Quiet, confident laughter. The kind that came from people who believed the base belonged to them. She signed in without correcting a single assumption. The officer at the desk barely glanced up. "Barracks C. You'll report to Captain Hargreave at 0600 tomorrow. Try not to be late." "Yes, sir," she replied evenly. Her voice was steady, controlled. No nerves, no eagerness. That alone should have been a warning. But no one noticed. By midday, the base had already decided her fate. She was watched from a distance as she crossed the training grounds. Soldiers paused mid-conversation to stare openly. Some smirked. Some shook their heads that a tall sergeant leaned toward another. "What do you give her?" 3 days. 2, the other replied. "She's not built for this place." She passed them without reacting. Inside Barrack C, the atmosphere was colder than the concrete walls. Her assigned bunk sat at the far end, untouched. Someone had scratched a message into the metal frame. "Go home while you can." She ran her fingers over the letters, then calmly placed her duffel on the D. In no anger. No fear, just memory. Memories of nights spent in war rooms where decisions sent fleets into motion. Of silence before airstrikes. Of responsibility heavy enough to crush most people long before it ever touched their shoulders. She had commanded men who would have terrified every soldier on this base. And now she was here, pretending to be invisible. The test began sooner than expected. That afternoon, a miscommunication sent her to the wrong training field. When she arrived, breath steady despite the heat, the instructor looked at her with thinly veiled irritation. "You're late," he snapped. She checked her watch. "I arrived at the coordinates I was given." "Well, you were given the wrong ones." "Not my problem." "Fall in." The rest of the unit stared. They were already exhausted. Sweat-soaked, muscles burning. And now they had to wait while the new girl joined. Someone deliberately stuck out a foot as she moved into formation. She didn't stumble. Another whispered loudly, "Careful. Wouldn't want you to break a nail." She didn't respond. The instructor barked commands, pushing the unit harder than necessary. Extra laps, longer drills, punishments disguised as training. She completed every task. Not faster than the others, not slower, just precise. It unsettled them. That'd be why the end of the session. Men who had mocked her avoided her eyes. Captain Hargreave watched from a distance, arms crossed. He had seen many recruits try to prove something. This one wasn't trying at all. That bothered him. That night, a quiet meeting took place in the rec room. "She's not cracking," one soldier said. "Give it time." "No," another replied, lowering his voice. "She's not normal." Plans formed easily. Lost equipment blamed on her. Orders misdelivered. Accusations whispered just loud enough to be heard. They had done this before. The base chewed up outsiders and spat them out. That be why morning rumors had already reached command. "She's arrogant. She thinks she's better than us. She disrespected an officer." None of it was true. She said nothing in her defense. When questioned, she answered simply, factually, without emotion. That only made it worse. People didn't trust silence. They trusted weakness. 2 days later, the incident happened that a routine simulation turned dangerous when live systems activated unexpectedly. Alarms screamed. Confusion spread. Soldiers froze. Orders overlapped. Someone shouted the wrong code. And in the chaos, it was the new girl who moved. She didn't hesitate, didn't wait for permission. She rerouted power manually, overrode the system, and issued commands so sharp and authoritative that people obeyed without realizing why. Lock that bay. Shut down now. You move. Within seconds, the danger passed. Silence followed. I turned toward her. Captain Hargreaves stared in disbelief. Who authorized you to take command? He demanded. She met his gaze calmly. No one. But hesitation would have cost lives. You don't give orders here, he snapped. You follow them. Yes, she said. Normally. The room felt smaller. For the first time, doubt crept in. That evening, Hargreaves made a call. Command, he said quietly. I need background on our latest transfer. Something doesn't add up. There was a pause on the line, then a different tone. Captain, you are not supposed to know yet. His jaw tightened. Know what? Another pause. You may want to sit down. She stood alone on the observation deck later that night, staring at the runway lights blinking against the darkness. Jets rested like sleeping beasts, waiting for orders that would send them into fire. This place reminded her of everything she had left behind, and everything she still carried. Footsteps approached. Captain Hargreaves stopped a few feet away, his earlier arrogance gone. Who are you? He asked quietly. She didn't turn around. You'll know soon enough, she said. Just not yet. Far above them, a jet roared to life, and deep within the base, sealed orders waited to be opened. Orders that would change everything they thought they knew about the new girl. They had tried to take her down. They had no idea who they were standing against. The sealed orders were delivered at dawn. Not by courier, not by email, but by a black-marked folder carried personally by a senior intelligence officer who did not wear a name tag. When Captain Hargreaves saw the insignia on the folder, his mouth went dry. This wasn't routine. This wasn't normal. He was ordered to assemble all senior officers in the command hall immediately. No questions, no delays. Across the base, alarms rang. Not emergency sirens, but the sharp tone reserved for command summons only. Soldiers whispered as they moved. What's happening? Inspection. Did something go wrong in the sim? No one connected it to her. Not yet. She was in the hangar when the message reached her. A junior officer approached, stiff and uncomfortable. Ma'am, you're requested at command hall. Immediately. She nodded once, wiped her hands clean, and followed. Her walk was unhurried, but something had changed. Those who passed her felt it. The command hall filled quickly. Officers stood at attention, tension thick in the air. Captain Hargreaves took his place at the front, hands clasped behind his back, eyes fixed forward. Then the intelligence officer stepped forward and placed a folder on the podium. By authority of high command, he said, voice echoing, this base will now receive its full operational leadership briefing. Murmurs rippled. Leadership briefing? This base already had a commander. The doors opened again. She walked in, and one announced her. NO rank insignia had changed, but every instinct in the room told them to stand. And they did. Boots slammed against the floor in perfect unison. She stopped at the center. Slowly, she removed her cap. Her eyes lifted calm. Cold. Absolute. The intelligence officer turned toward her and spoke the words that rewrote everything. Admiral Evelyn Cross, Supreme Operational Commander of this base and all attached air, ground, and intelligence units. Silence crashed into the room like an explosion without sound. Faces drained of color. Captain Hargreaves felt his knees lock. Admiral, not a visiting officer, not an inspector. The base's highest authority, the new girl. She looked across the room, letting the weight of the moment settle. I assume, she said evenly, that my introduction has been memorable. No one breathed. I arrived unannounced by design, she continued, because authority revealed too early teaches nothing. Authority revealed after truth teaches everything. Her gaze landed on one officer, then another. Men who had laughed, men who had planned, men who had tried to break her. I wanted to see this base as it truly is, she said, not how it performs when watched. Captain Hargreaves stepped forward, swallowing hard. Admiral, she raised a hand. Captain, you followed procedure. You failed leadership. Each word landed like steel. You allowed rumors to replace facts. You allowed silence to become guilt. You allowed strength to be mistaken for weakness. She turned slowly, addressing them all. This base does not fall because of enemies outside its walls, she said. It falls when arrogance replaces discipline. No one dared look up. Later that day, consequences followed, quietly, efficiently. Transfers, demotions, reassignments, and public punishment. Humiliation. Just removal. Those who had tried to sabotage her found themselves packing without explanation. The base felt different by nightfall. Lighter, sharper, and afraid. Admiral Cross stood once more on the observation deck, watching jets launch into the dark sky. This time, Captain Hargreaves stood beside her, silent, humbled. "I misjudged you," he said. "Yes," she replied. "You did." After a pause, she added, "But you learned. That's why you're still here." He nodded, eyes fixed forward. "From this day forward," she said, "this base will be known for precision, not pride. Loyalty, not intimidation. And strength that doesn't need to announce itself." Below them, the base moved like a living machine, focused, disciplined, united. Her legacy had begun. Not with her title, but with truth. And to everyone watching this story on her battlefield legacy, if you believe real power doesn't shout, if you believe leadership is proven in silence, then subscribe to the channel and stand with stories that honor strength, sacrifice, and truth. And tell us one thing in the comments. Where are you watching from?